The street was flooded that night and so was her heart. Safia stood at the doorway, rain soaking through her wrapper, the baby on her hip growing heavier by the minute. Her sons, one 7, the other barely 4, clung to her legs, shivering in the cold. Behind her, her voice called through the downpour like a knife. Leave this house. You will not ruin my son like you ruined the first one. She looked at Bode, her husband, the man who once swore to protect her, standing there in silence, leaning on the door frame. He didn't even try to stop it. In that moment, Safia understood she was no longer a wife here. She was an unwanted guest. She stepped into the rain without a word. The cold water soaked her skin, but the real cold was inside her, the kind that seeps into your bones when you realize love has abandoned you. That night, with 3 children and nowhere to go, Safia walked away for the second time in her life. And if you think that's where her story ends, you don't know the kind of woman Safia is. Safia was just 19 when Karim, the popular young tailor of Sarifa town, noticed her. He had quick hands, a charming smile, and dreams that stretched further than the narrow street where his shop stood. They married in a small ceremony, just family, kola nuts, and a few neighbors. Their first room had peeling paint and a single bulb that flickered at night. They didn't have much, but in those early months, love seemed enough. Karim would while sewing late into the night. Safia, heavily pregnant, would sit nearby folding Ankara fabrics into neat piles, the smell of old starch filling the air. Sometimes he would drop his measuring tape over her shoulders just to pull her close, whispering, "When I open my own big shop, you'll be the madam sitting at the counter." She would blush, believing every word. But after Yusuf was born, customers began owing him money. Rent piled up. Karim's smile faded. He started coming home smelling of cheap gin. One evening, when Safia served him beans without meat, he frowned. "What is this? Am I a beggar?" "There is no money, Karim. You know that." The first slap was so quick, she barely saw it coming. Her head rang, but he said nothing more. He just ate in silence. Months later, when she was pregnant with Sulaiman, Karim accused her of hiding money. She denied it, but he overturned the food tray, scattering hot soup across the floor, and shoved her against the wall. Her neighbor, Mama Dada, rushed in. "Karim, she's carrying your child." Karim waved her off. "Leave my house before you join her." At the market, Safia overheard Karim laughing with other men. "This woman eats my food and still complains. She thinks she's a queen." The words burned her ears, but she kept walking, holding Yusuf's tiny hand tighter. It was the start of the rainy season. Safia had made ewedu soup, hoping to ease Karim's mood. When he came home and saw no meat in the pot, he exploded. "You think I work for nothing?" He grabbed the pot and hauled it across the room. Hot soup splashed her arm. Yusuf screamed. Karim reached for his belt. Safia's heart raced, not for herself, but for the baby kicking in her womb. She shielded Yusuf with her body. The belt struck her back. Yusuf cried louder. "Baba, stop! Leave mommy alone." Karim shoved the boy aside. That was the moment something inside her snapped. Whilst Karim stepped outside to relieve himself, Safia grabbed a polythene bag and shoved in 2 wrappers, a feeding bottle, and Yusuf's small shoes. She lifted her sleeping son onto her back, cradled her belly, and slipped into the night. The streets were muddy from the evening rain. She didn't stop until she reached Mama Dada's house, a neighbor opened the door to find Safia shivering, her wrapper wet, her eyes swollen. What happened? Safia could barely speak. If I stayed one more night, my children would be orphans. That night, she swore she would never return. Safia met Bode at Harmony Guest Inn while serving Amala to a man with the warmest smile she had seen in years. He kept coming back always, polite, always asking about her boys, sometimes slipping an extra bottle of malt into her bags. She thought, maybe God is giving me a second chance. When they married quietly, he rented a neat two-bedroom apartment in GRA Phase 2, tiled floors, a small balcony, a front garden where Yusuf and Sulaiman played football every evening. He would help bath the boys, carrying Halima when she cried, and sometimes sit with Safia in the shop, eating puff-puff while they laughed about customers. The first airline cracks. They appeared when his younger sister, Ronke, visited for the first time. Ronke looked her up and down, then said, "So, this is the woman my brother married." At first, but they brushed it off. "Ronke, behave yourself." But a week later, Ronke made another comment, this time about Safia's cooking. "You, this woman, your stew is always too peppery." Instead of defending her, Bode laughed and said, "Maybe she needs cooking lessons from you." His mother started visiting every other week. Each time, she would rearrange the kitchen, throw away Safia's spices, and insist Halima be fed the proper way. When Safia complained, Bode's voice grew sharper. "It's her grandchild, Safia. Respect her." He began eating dinner at his mother's house, more often, sometimes not returning until late. When she asked where he was, he would reply, "Don't start, you worry too much." At a cousin's wedding, Safia greeted Bode's family warmly, but his aunt ignored her completely. Later, while serving food, the aunt said loudly to another guest, "These days, men will marry anything as long as it can cook." Bode heard it. He looked at Safia, then looked away. On the drive home, she tried to bring it up, but he turned on the radio and said, "Let's not spoil the night." Nights changed too. He no longer reached for her. Sometimes he would sleep in the living room, saying he had work to do. If she touched his shoulder, he shrugged it off gently but firmly. One night, she asked, "Bode, did I do something wrong?" He sighed. "You worry too much about things that don't matter." The rainy season came with its long, moody nights. One evening, his mother was in the living room when Safia returned from her shop. The older woman didn't greet her. Instead, she spoke to Bode in Yoruba, thinking Safia wouldn't understand. "Send her away before she causes your destiny." An hour later, Bode stood at the doorway while his mother told her to leave. Safia waited for him to defend her. Even one word, but he stayed silent, completely silent. She packed in silence, her sons helping fold clothes into the bags. Halima whimpered, her arms tight around Safia's neck. When they stepped outside, the rain hurt her like stones, soaking through her wrapper instantly. Behind her, Bode closed the door without saying goodbye. That night, she realized silence can be crueler than violence, because at least violence acknowledges your presence. Ibrahim, the man who saw her scars and called them beautiful. Safia first met Ibrahim in the most ordinary ways, buying smoked fish. It was a Thursday morning at Ajoshe Market. She was bargaining with a stubborn fish seller when a calm male voice beside her said, "Sister, just buy it. I'll pay the difference." She turned to find a man in his early 50s, clean-shaven, with the kind of steady eyes that made you feel sane. He wore a staff ID around his neck. Ibrahim didn't rush. The first time he visited a frozen food shop, he came to buy chicken wings. The second time, catfish. By the fourth visit, Safia realized he always stayed longer than needed, chatting about his late wife, his work as a lecturer, and his two grown children. One rainy afternoon, as she handed him change, he said, "You know, you have the kind of strength people write stories about." Her laugh was small, but her heart felt lighter than it had in years. When she fell sick with malaria, Ibrahim showed up at her shop with pepper soup and medicine. When her freezer broke down, he called a repairman and paid the bill without telling her. Unlike Karim, he never raised his voice. Unlike Bode, he never went silent when she was in pain. Instead, he asked questions and listened, really listened. The day he proposed, it wasn't grand. They were sitting on the wounded bench outside her shop, watching Yusuf teach little Hanima how to ride a bicycle. He looked at her and said simply, "Let me give you a home you never have to run away from." After they married, he brewed tea while she fried akara, and they would eat together on the veranda, watching the sunrise. His children welcomed her politely, even calling her Mama. When neighbors gossiped about her past, Ibrahim would smile and say, "Yes, she had a life. That's why she knows how to live." He would sometimes return from work with flowers from the university garden or take her to the staff club for grilled fish and music. In the evenings, they would sit outside, her head resting on his shoulder, while he read aloud from a book. 2 years later, their daughter Aisha was born, small, perfect, and with her mother's eyes. Ibrahim insisted on beating her himself for the first month, saying, "If I can hold students' futures in my hands, I can hold my daughter too." Safia noticed something strange. She no longer dreamt of running. There were no doors to be slammed in her face, no footsteps to fear, no nights of silent punishment. She began laughing more, singing while she worked in her shop, even buying matching clothes for the whole family on Eid. For the first time in decades, Safia felt like she belonged, not because she was perfect, but because someone saw her flaws and stayed. The hall at Crystal Event Center was filled with friends, neighbors, and family. White and gold drapes hung from the ceiling, reflecting the warm glow of fairy lights. The air smelled of jollof rice, grilled fish, and freshly baked meat pies. Safia sat at the head table, wearing a flowing wine-colored iru and buba, her gele wrapped like a queen's crown. Beside her sat Ibrahim, beaming with quiet pride. Her 4 children, Yusuf, Sulaiman, Alima, and little Aisha, were dressed in matching cream-colored outfits. They moved around the hall, greeting guests, laughing, serving drinks. When the MC announced that Yusuf, her firstborn, would give a speech, Safia's heart swelled. He stepped up to the microphone, tall and confident, in his kaftan. His voice was steady, but his eyes glistened. People used to say my mother failed at marriage. They counted her husband, but never counted her sacrifices. They saw the homes she left, but they never saw the bruises she hid. They saw her walking away, but they never saw her carrying us in her arms, through the rain, through hunger, through shame. My mother didn't fail at marriage. She survived. And still, she built a home. Today, I stand here as a software engineer because she worked night shifts at a hotel to pay my WAEC fees. My brother is a pharmacist because she sold fish in the sun to keep him in school. My sister Alima is studying in the UK because my mother taught us to dream bigger than our pain. Aisha will grow up in a house where love does not hurt because Mama showed us it's possible. By the time he finished, the hall was silent. Even the waiters paused to listen. Safia couldn't hold back her tears. She stood and pulled Yusuf into her hug. Then Alima joined. Then Sulaiman. Then little Aisha climbed into her lap. For a moment, it was just them. The family she fought to keep alive. Safia's life wasn't a fairy tale. It was storms and scars, loss and loneliness. But in the end, it was also laughter, healing and a home built on love, not fear. She is not just one woman. She is the mirror of many. And if her story feels like yours, remember, you are not finished. You are rising. If this touched your heart, don't just watch in silence. Let us know in the comments which part of our journey moved you the most. Remember, every share, every like, and every subscription helps keep African stories alive and heard. Until the next story, keep believing, keep rising, and keep remembering you are never finished. You are only just beginning.